Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. The JAMODI podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products. In season versus out of season. What are some of the big differences in strength training or speed, whatever we're doing with our athletes outside of basketball practice that we kind of need to be aware of?
Sure. Yeah. It always comes down to volume, right? We off season, we have the opportunity to do additional stuff because we know we don't have like a Tuesday, Friday game or a tournament on the weekend or something. We just have, open gym or practice or workout. So we can increase our volume. We can work on some weaknesses. We might be able to strength train for 45 minutes. As we're during the season or preseason, we might be able to get 20 minutes only. So we have to kind of pick and choose. But let me give the listeners a really good speed development program they can use off season and into in season. So this is what I did with my teams. Maximum sprint speed. Full sprinting is critical because it develops foot, ankle, lower leg, and the ability for it to be elastic. So if you want to jump higher, if you want to change directions quickly, get a really good, stiff, stable foot and ankle, and that'll help. So we did this. We sprinted twice a week during the preseason, off-season, okay? Just twice a week because we're trying to improve max. This is not condition. Trying to improve max speed. We started them out in about a 6-week program, and we would start out about 20 meters, and then we'd go, for a week, week and a half, and then we'd go 25, 30, 35, 40, up to 40 meters, and then or yards. And then what we did is the lower it is, so 20, 25, we might do 4 to 5 sets or reps, okay? And then as we got up to 30, we went down to 3 to 4, and then when we got to 40, 2 to 3. But it had to be 100%, and we timed everything. Because if we time it, now we see progress, and it kind of holds them accountable. So we did that. Didn't take very long, but we got fast. Our kids kept getting faster because they sprinted. Now we got into in season. We sprinted once every 7 to 8 days. And what we did is we would go 3 sprints. We would go out of bounds on one corner. And we would sprint across through the center jump circle to about the opposite wing. And that gave us room to slow down. So we get about 25 yards to 30 yards, depending on how much out of bounds room you have. We did that once, 3 times, full speed after we warmed up. That's it. That maintained, in some athletes, it actually improved their speed, but at least we never lost it. The second thing we did is we marked off 7 yards. And so 7 yards for the listeners is basically the baseline to about 2 feet above the foul line. Okay, so that's because if you can imagine 15 feet.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, so we shuffle full speed, just like we're sprinting, but laterally. So we started on that baseline and shuffled for 7 yards as hard as we can, walked back, turned around, shuffled using the other side, and did that anywhere between 3 to 5 times on each side. And I'm telling you, the maximum ability to accelerate laterally quick was improved tremendously, and the health of our groins, hamstrings was up. So simple, so easy. The only problem coaches have is they're like, I feel like I'm not pushing them hard enough. And I'm like, exactly.
That's
the whole point. I'm not trying to condition them. I'm trying to make them faster. So now you have a faster athlete. And here's if the athletes can, or the coaches can hear this message, this might make sense. If you have an athlete that can run 20 miles an hour, okay, that's their maximum speed. And if I can train them, and let's say I got them up to 22 miles an hour, okay? And now during a basketball game, most of the time they're running sub-maximum. Like you never get to your max speed or very up. But if they're running sub-maximally now at 20 miles an hour, they're that much faster because they just raised their ceiling up. So their sub-maximal speed actually makes them appear to be more conditioned too, because we can go longer when we're at a sub-maximal level. Because if I run a 400 as fast as I can compared to 80%, I could go longer at 80%. But if I raise my maximum speed and my sub-maximal speed raises, I'm a better athlete. I look better shape, and I can maintain those faster speeds even better. So when you look at it that way, you're like, it makes sense. Let's raise all that level of speed because their submaximal speed goes up.
To me, that's a pretty big mind shift from, I think, I don't know, maybe from what we just have seen on social media or YouTube, maybe from how we were coached, which is if you're not breathing hard and if you're not bent over and dripping in sweat, you're not working. You're not getting better and faster. Like, what's the balance there between, because when the moment you said, I'll just to be transparent, the moment you said we sprint 3 times, in my head I thought, that's it? Like, that's not enough to get tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, speak to that shift where what's the balance?
Definitely. So believe me, we get our kids in shape. My teams have always been a full court type of team. We press, we run. So we're in good shape. And if we construct our practices right, we're going to get there. And our off-season stuff was very much ball dominant, but at high amounts of volume. So we got in shape. It was just very specific for them. But if I need to get faster or stronger, power lifters are the strongest people in the world, right? They only lift 1 rep. Okay, that's maximum force. So if I can sprint 3 to 4 times at this particular distance, 100% effort, my nervous system is changing. It's developing the coordination to move my limbs at that maximum speed. So if the coaches can change their mindset and say, listen, I can either have athletes that are incredible shape, but not real fast, or athletes that are just thoroughbreds. They're faster than everybody on the court, and they're in good shape. Which one would you take, right?
Yeah.
The athletes that can run and jump are the ones that dominate eventually, right?
Yeah.
And the ones who obviously have skill and can shoot. But if we are extremely fast, extremely quick, and we get in really good shape, man, it's tough to beat teams like that as long as they have a good, skill set. And if you work with younger athletes, who dominates? The fastest athletes, the ones who can just run quicker, especially in the girls game. I coach girls a lot. When I had girls that were just fast, we just ran by people. It just defensively, offensively, you just change the game.
Yeah.
So when they look at it, don't think hard breathing. Think neurological change. If I want to be a good foul shooter and you made me do 50 push-ups and said, now go shoot foul shots, you're probably going to make me a worse foul shooter because I just fatigued the heck out of it. My motor program is going to be off. I'm going to be muscling the ball up there. But if you said, Lee, I want you to shoot 20 perfect foul shots every day, I will get better if I do that. If I have a system of shooting that's correct, I'm going to get better. I could shoot 100, but that doesn't guarantee me I'm going to get better.
Yeah.
But if I do it, same thing with speed. Speed's the same way. Change the nervous system, and you'll get faster.
So it's not about just sheer volume. We have guys running the weight room from 6:30 a.m. to 7:15, and I'm going to cram as much into that time as possible, so that by the end your shirt's wet, and you go, wow, that was a good workout. It's not about that as much as the level of output they're able to give to try to push against that wall, that barrier, and keep setting new ones. Is that kind of what you're telling me to do?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? It is, but don't necessarily look at those workouts that are grinding and hard as bad things, because sometimes the athletes like that. And sometimes it just, it gives some camaraderie, and as long as technique is good and everything is good, and in the off season you have some nice time to do that. My thing is, because there's some area schools around where we live, and I'm going to do a seminar coming up in June here on trying to educate the coaches on this. during the off season, who cares how good a shape your kids are? Really, you're not. It's like you might play a travel game or something like that, which is good. But I would much rather have a faster athlete, a stronger athlete, one that can start and improve their jumping and their first step quickness versus being in peak shape. I want them in peak shape when the school season starts. That's when we need to get in shape so we can play a full quarters, because that to me matters more. Some people AAU matters. It doesn't to me. I'm more of the traditional. I like the school and the camaraderie of the school and the cheerleaders, and I like that environment. That's what I grew up in. So I never cared about conditioning in the off season.
Yeah.
Mine was always, we're going to be faster athletes. So when we go back to a new season, we're just going to try to run by people, and we're going to shut them down defensively because we have more speed than you do. If I'm the same speed as I was last year, that's my fault. I didn't prioritize that.
But I tell you, I think this way of thinking about, off-season training for us as high school, I changed my thinking on that to where players really have 2 seasons now a year.
Yes.
They have their school season, and then they have their select season. And I was one of those coaches that school season, hey, guys, you're all in on what we're doing. I don't want any distractions. Okay, now it's select season. Guys, listen, you're still all in what we're doing. I don't want, I was not allowing them to focus. And I've made that shift, but I still fall in the trap of, we're still going to condition right now. Our workouts are still nothing wrong. Like you said, nothing wrong with being pushed or whatnot. But I think this type of training, this type of thinking of really maximizing their time, because they are still, if they're playing select ball, guys or girls, they're still in shape. They might be even playing more games than what they did in season. So this could keep them healthier. This could allow them to stay fresher throughout this time instead of long grueling season. Now it's time to grind even harder, but you're still playing tons of games. I just think this is really healthy. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.